Once again, I am Hans.
Yeah, I am Franz, and we are here to pop you off.
This is BOBcast.
BuffaloBrotherhood.com.
Welcome to the Buffalo Brotherhood. This is BOBcast, episode 97, and I am Ryan, and alongside me as always is
Mike.
And across the table from him is
Doug.
And returning for the second week in a row is not Hans and Franz, but our Buffalo Brotherhood version of such. Well, no. That's wrong.
It's kind of fitting. It really is. When you look at the picture, their like height and everything, like comparably, like Halloween next year, like there you guys go. You guys could do it. And you wouldn't even have to wear a bodysuit. Like you guys could just wear the sweats with the red belt and you'd be all right.
Weightlifting belt. We've got.
Yeah.
Did you guys just want? You have the microphone down there. Do you guys want to go around the corner there, introducing yourselves?
We're Mo and Joe. I'm Mo. I'm Joe. Hi.
Okay.
And I'm Paul. Here
Paul?
again.
Are you here
Again?
Robert back once again this week.
There we go.
So the same table, same cast of characters from last week. This week though is a topical show where we're going to explore. Paul's here, so he's been on the show before. He's talked about martial arts. Was the first show you were on, right?
Yep.
I think.
And then we've shot guns together.
Yep.
And then
that wasn't the second one.
Well, and then
Education.
we talked about
yeah,
teaching.
education was a long.
It was a long time. It was
It was a long episode. A long time ago.
In Omaha.
And then you helped us start off one of our more popular runs, I feel like, with our Biggest Loser contest. We did last year, and it was a really, really good show. And we're here this week, and we're going to talk about a very, I wouldn't say a small subsect of overall fitness or wellness. It's different. It's different than overall fitness and wellness, right? I mean, obviously you have to be fit in order to do it, but it's more of a competitive side rather than just taking care of yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And that is powerlifting, which I'm ignorant of. So I don't.
You lift heavy things.
Lift heavy things.
I know that. I know the thing is that if you do it wrong, you're gonna die. But if you do it right, like these guys will show you how to do it, then you can lift heavier things.
And it's all about getting yourself. I mean, there's a little bit. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of the nutrition, a lot of training, a lot of sort of getting yourself into the physical peak that is required in order to do it. But I mean, there's physics behind it too. Just getting yourself in the right position and getting the right leverage.
It's funny that you mentioned nutrition because we were just talking about that the other day when we were looking at power lifters like in the 70s and stuff like that, and how just built like Doug they were. Like they were just these like big dudes that like
What's that supposed to mean?
All love is what he's saying.
But they were like built like you and not like
awesome?
Robert. Like
just made of awesome?
Yeah. It was just like they would walk up and you would never think that guy could lift what they do.
Snap you in half.
Yeah, and then they just pick up half a car and like without a problem.
Doug can't.
Well, I mean, you still have that, but it's different competitive levels. I mean, like today. The world's strongest men, you're talking about guys that are, anywhere from 350 to 400 pounds, that you're just mountains of men. And I mean, they're not the most, lean people in the world, but I mean, they're definitely, the chemicals have changed, since that chemicals have gotten better. And I'm not saying that has everything to do with it, but when you get to that level, those guys are definitely taking steroids. So I mean, it has changed quite a bit. But I mean, if you look at Olympic weightlifters, from the 70s and things like some of the biggest, most famous Olympic weightlifters used to be just huge dudes, but now you're looking at Olympic weightlifters that are much more lean, much more cut. A lot more explosive. They're putting up, same numbers or pretty darn close. So
I want to look up, like, that's one thing I probably should have had already pulled up was, like, Olympic weightlifting records. Do you know any of what's the current record for, like, let's talk about deadlift, because that's
hold on. Go ahead. Let's break it down for just a second, because powerlifting itself,
powerlifting, it's
is it set by weight class?
Okay. It's not Olympic weightlifting. Olympic weightlifting is clean and jerk and snatch.
Okay,
so let's walk out on a stage. You got settle down, Doug. But you've got essentially 3 lifts at each exercise to be able to perform the best clean and jerk and snatch. So that's the way those goes. But for powerlifting, what all of us compete in, it's your overall total for deadlift, bench, and squat. So that's what we compete in. It's a little bit different, but it's highly competitive, a lot of fun, and it's based on weight classes. So you're trying to get to the strongest that you can at your particular weight class. So it's not like a world's strongest man competition where you've got a guy like Eddie Hull that weighs 406 pounds that's deadlifting and competing against someone my size. He's got the world record deadlift, but he's also 400 plus pounds deadlifting over 1,000 pounds. So at that point, you are just competing to be the strongest in the world. So
trying to hit that 18.
18.
Yeah.
What?
Strength.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, that one completely crashed on that. So
this half of the table
that was
get it.
That was a Dungeons and Dragons reference.
9,000, that was DBZ reference.
I couldn't hear you. You didn't say it into the microphone.
I said over 9,000. That was a DBZ reference.
No one gets your jokes if they're not said into the microphone.
That's fine. They don't have to.
Yeah.
I got the 9,000 joke.
You didn't get the 18?
Good. No,
I got it
no,
now.
Doug, nobody got the 18
I was
thing.
thinking.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I was trying.
They
to
weren't paying attention.
I was trying to give it as much sort of. So, how much of the cutting weight? How much of that sort of tactic goes into what you're doing? Because and I only know this because I've been following the wrestlers, or I have kids that are in wrestling and stuff right now. I've got 4th grade kids talking about cutting weight at lunch so they can make the weigh in and stuff, and not in the way that I have it. The way it was explained to me, sort of it's not a unhealthy. They're not trying to drop 10 pounds or 5 pounds or something like that. But it's just when you are on a team. I don't know if powerlifting comes out like a team sport, or is it always individual?
Yeah, some people will do teams. A lot of colleges and things like that have teams.
Okay, so so we're they're talking about when you're a team sport, wrestling isn't typically considered a team sport. You think of it as an individual sport, a lot like golf. But when you get into the collegiate level and so forth, it becomes very much a team sport. So when you say that you're going to weigh in at 197 and you're going to fill that spot, then that becomes your responsibility to sort of maintain that weight. So, and they were talking, you never want to see a kid in the junior high level or something like that skipping lunches or wearing trash bags or anything like that. But you do also want to encourage them to have that.
What?
Yeah, I didn't wrestle in high school or anything like that, but that definitely goes on with a lot of
wearing trash bags.
Yeah, so you sweat.
Skipping lunches and wearing trash bags.
You're trying to lose water weight. It's crazy stuff. I don't know.
I guess
hard on your kidneys.
Yeah,
that's what it all comes down to.
I think it's not really prevalent in powerlifting, just because if people are wanting to cut weight, they've got weeks and months to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not something where they're doing these crazy drastic measures to lose water weight the last week. Some people will do it, but I don't think it's not like what you see some of these kids doing in wrestling, where I think they're just not getting any advice. They're just told, you have to weigh this.
Yeah.
So if you're a 15, 16-year-old kid and someone says, weigh less, you're just going to stop eating and try to run as much as you possibly can from it.
Yeah.
So I think
that's healthy.
Well,
yeah,
that's what I was trying to.
I just be like, I want to be in the net. Just eat more.
Yeah.
And I think that's what your more modern day
eat.
wrestling coaches are actually trying to counteract. They don't, and that's the way it was explained to me. Was it's they're not. They understand it's part of what their sport is. That when you make that, when you make that promise to your team that you're going to fill that slot, then it's your responsibility. And then finding the healthy ways in order to manage or maintain their own.
Gents, I don't mean to interrupt, but Mo has some other things that she needs to do, and my wife is probably. But she gets sleepy, so she might be in the chair asleep here in like.
So
20 minutes.
we got to talk to the women first.
Are there some questions that you want to ask them in particular?
So the two women that are on the show can lift. They can do everything more than me right now. I don't know. Can you deadlift more than me? I think you both can, right?
What's your deadlift?
I don't know. What did
deadlift?
I get? 3 something?
You got? No, like 3. Yeah. I think you worked up to 300 pounds.
300.
Yeah.
No, I'm 20 pounds under that.
But you guys can squat more than me.
What is your
I'm
squat?
pretty sure. I don't know. I think it was more. I think. Yeah.
Also say how much you guys weigh.
That's true.
Around 115, 120. Yeah, around 115.
Because you were the same person basically together.
I mean, basically. Basically. And if anyone watches this, are we sisters or related? No, we are not.
Yeah. So you two have been getting into it a long time. I mean, you've done it about as long as Paul has, right, Carissa?
Yeah.
And you've been doing it as long as Chris has, Mo?
Yeah.
So, because you guys are attached to the hip.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, so you two have worked your way up to the weights that you guys are at now, and you're actually, Carissa, you're doing, 3 times your weight in something, right? Didn't you just, what was it? Which one of the events were you doing that? Was it your deadlift?
That was her.
Was it you?
I'm almost double. Because I weighed in at 105 weight class, and I deadlifted 280 at the competition. So
That's insane.
Double. So, my goal this time is about 315, 320, weighing about at 115.
That's awesome. That's
just take
kind of exciting.
Just take your weight and multiply that times 3, or mine and multiply that times 3.
It just sounds like death. It just sounds like death.
Ryan's calculating.
No, carry the one.
But you guys are real committed. I mean, I know you guys
lift a Volvo.
You guys are in the gym a lot. You guys know what you're doing, which makes a huge difference. As I found out, lifting wrong compared to lifting correctly is a difference in lots of weight that you could move.
Oh yeah, sometimes you gotta be a form Nazi, like this one over here. She's the form Nazi in the gym. So doing something wrong, she's always got to point it out. Don't do it this way. You're wrong.
Because if you do it that wrong, I mean, you're talking.
Oh yeah, it can result in injury. Definitely
well,
a big injury.
not just as much injury. I mean, that's bad, but the wrong form could cause you to not be able to lift as much. I mean, right? I mean, if you're pulling with your back when you're deadlifting instead of lifting straight up, you can't lift as much like that with your legs, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, it's all about the form and the thing, and I think that's why you guys excel in it so much is because you guys have been doing it correctly for so long.
Yeah, not in the beginning though. So everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So everyone's gonna start on the Mikey level.
Yeah, that's true. I couldn't walk upstairs after I got done with them. It was awful. Not day 1, day 2. It's always day 2.
Yes, day 2.
Oh my goodness.
Walking
And it
down the
was
stairs
terrible.
has become impossible.
And at work, I was in that loft,
You're
so
like,
I had to go up a
I
flight of
can't-
stairs just
I
to use the
can't sit
bathroom.
down to poop.
Oh yeah, that was
sitting.
the worst.
Sitting is
That
the
was
worst.
the worst. That was the
I'm
worst.
just gonna lean and hope it falls in. Listen for the plop.
The splashback is much worse in that situation. But yeah, so I don't. Do you guys have any special?
Could
questions
you
for
actually
the
go into a little bit about what you get out of the sport, sort of intrinsically? I mean, other than just the level of competition of being successful at something, but what drives you to continue to do it, and then what do you get out of it? What's your gratification out of it? I mean,
I don't know. I just feel like starting more to the bottom and working up now, it just makes me feel a lot more better, about my body. Like we started out, we just want to be toned and, the whole basic girl thing. We just want to be toned, look good on the beach or whatever girls' fantasy is now these days. And then we're like, oh, there's that train. But now we're just we just want to be strong. I don't know. People are like, what are you going to do with strength? And it's just a goal. It's just a goal now. I don't want people to look at me and be like, oh, you're small and do nothing. I I'm not a D&B. We don't want to be a do-nothing bitch, as Ronda Rousey would say, so.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've learned a lot of weird weightlifting terms hanging out with you guys, like that I was like, basic, what is, Google that. I don't know what the hell.
Let's Google that.
Like,
It'd be
they're
probably,
over there talking, I'm going, what the hell is that?
It's probably on Urban Dictionary. Like Urban Dictionary that, because it makes no sense.
I do. I'm like, they'll be talking over there. I'm like, what are they, like, Google Translate and hold it out to them.
Like, okay, Google. Like, what is this? Okay, Siri.
So maybe go through a little bit of what the training transition or the training regimen goes. So for a female. I mean, is it different for a female from a man?
Like eating, because gain weight in different ways and in different places. Like me and Joe, we're bottom heavy, so it's just I just feel like it's different.
They have huge toes. It's weird.
Yeah, it's
very weird.
Huge toes. I won't take my shoes off.
So every weightlifting or every powerlifting competition is what, 4 months out, 6 months out? How they do it quarterly, biannually?
Well, I mean,
because I just imagine depends. I imagine it's not something like every Saturday I'm going to go work in a powerlifting. There's cycles probably your body goes through from heel recovery. So
that just goes back to like the basics of taking care of yourself. You can't lift heavy and go intense all year round. You can't. You'll kill yourself. So I mean, your body works best in certain cycles. You're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. Like a lot of people say, body, performs best in 4-week cycles. So, kind of switch things up after a 4-week cycle. But, most programs getting you ready for a powerlifting competition are like most of the time, if you're getting ready to compete, you're looking more at like your peaking. You're like, I got to do something now to get me that extra little bit of umph. Like Robert, he's unbelievably strong. Like he's got a super heavy squat, super heavy deadlift, super heavy bench. So he's got to figure out ways to get just that extra little bit of umph before he goes and does it. So he's going to 6 to 8 weeks out, start really turning up the volume and the intensity of the workout. But I mean, you're always training. You're always in the gym. But you definitely do have to change things up with the way that you work out. I mean, like one of the most popular squat programs is it's just called the Russian squat program. And it's a peaking program. You can't do it all year round, but it's a 6-week program, and it's geared for just getting you that extra little bit of weight, maybe 10 or 20 pounds right before you go and do your competition. So, and if Robert wants to add anything on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it also is going to highly depend on where you're at in terms of if you just start working out.
Yeah.
You really don't. I mean, you can kind of go harder because you're doing a lot less weight and a lot less total tonnage. It's just like number of times you do a movement times the amount of weight.
Okay.
So when you're just kind of starting out, your body can it doesn't need as much rest because you really aren't putting through as much as if you're doing 300 more pounds for that. So the more you kind of get deep into the training, you do need to start worrying more about how often do I need to rest? How often do I need to take a week off? And you can't just tax your body day after day after day. It's right. Gonna need some recovery. And I think so. Kind of where you're at in terms of, did you just start? Are you kind of intermediate? Are you kind of getting to where you're more of not an amateur and things
just
like that?
Just frame of reference, can you give us your weight that you're throwing and you're the weight class that you're in, and compared to what Mo was talking about?
Yeah. So I'm way around 190, 195, somewhere in there. I think what I've done in the gym is squat 450 pounds, deadlift 550. My bench is right around 300. I've done through 5 or 310, but that's kind of a hard
right.
for me.
It's the squat number that just drives me insane because that's just like I could feel myself going down and my legs just popping. It's like blowing out, like just like turning to ooze.
It feels that way quite often.
Like in the mount that I did, and I'm coming up going, oh, like just like clenching everything to get it up.
Yeah, it's I think a squat it's more mental sometimes. You just got to gut it out. It's never going to feel great when you've got that much weight in your back. Anything, it's. I think it's one of those things where, like to me, it doesn't feel like I'm doing as much now because as you progress, you start to compare yourself to people who are, like, no matter what you do, whether it's powerlifting, no matter whatever your kind of your hobby is, or even what you're competing at. There's almost with 100% certainty someone out there who's better than you.
Yeah.
There's only one person in the world who that's not true about in what you're doing.
And
right?
he
There's
died for
always
your
going to be the
sins.
best person, and they're the only so it's, I don't know. But
Sorry.
I don't have the headphones on, so I wasn't
Yeah.
that is good. But.
It's all right.
I was referring to Jesus.
Oh yeah. Well, try to be as strong as Jesus.
Yeah.
But,
there's always going to be the one guy that's always on top.
Yeah,
but-
and so no matter where you're at, you're always going to have people to compare yourself to that are above you. So I think it's what sounds heavy to you will sound,
yeah,
that sounds heavier to someone else, and so
Right.
it's
There's Jesus again.
yep, just
Putting up
Well,
2K.
I just think it's interesting that we have both males and females competing in the same sport, throwing the same kind of weight with the same. So how long have you been doing this?
I've kind of been in the gym probably the last about 7 years or so now.
Okay.
Haven't really competed until the last couple years, so didn't really get into doing like the big three powerlifting movements: squat, deadlift, and bench. I always kind of benched, but the other two probably a little bit later into when I was in the gym, just because I didn't know what I was doing and had people to finally show me how to do it properly and things like that. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
But kind of going back to that, because honestly, there's differences between males and females in their physiology, and not necessarily. And you're talking about how when you're squatting that amount of weight, you're a bigger guy. You've been doing it for a long time, and we're talking about how the recovery cycle when you're dealing with that amount of weight is different. So, like, how do you pace that with like Mo, who is still pushing her body to the limits? But we're dealing with maybe smaller rep or more reps with lighter weight, or did the recovery time then shorten then that way, or?
Yeah, I think, and the one thing that kind of comes out in powerlifting, it's not always about sheer numbers, it's always about a ratio.
Yeah.
So, it's not about how much weight necessarily you're doing, it's more about the weight you're doing in comparison to your own body weight.
Okay.
And so,
that would make sense.
Yeah,
then.
So you think about someone like Mo and Joe over here, they're pretty small individuals. They're only weighing 110, 115 pounds. For them doing 200 pounds, that's an intense training. That's an intense training day.
Yeah.
If I go in weighing almost 200 pounds and do that same 200 pounds, it's just not going to be as intensive of a training day for me. So
it's like 1.833 repeating percent of your body to the
yeah.
weight
So
versus
I think
less than that for you.
I think in terms of the male to female differences, a lot of it's just based on females are in generally just smaller, like height and weight wise, right? So they're also, if you look at the physiological differences though as well, they're also usually very good squatters. They have wider hips. It's a lot easier for them to kind of get that hip mobility, whereas guys, my flexibility is next to nothing. Like it's hard for me to really get down into the perfect position. So
right.
But yeah, I think a lot of it's really the difference between genders is based on size. So
I was gonna say.
I'm gonna go. I'm an old lady. And I'm gonna leave. So thanks for letting me come over.
Keeping you up too late.
So yeah,
you got to get up and get into the gym tomorrow.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not going actually. Well, maybe. It depends. It's Saturday. I don't know. I'm gonna snuggle myself in my bed, but I am gonna go. So.
All right.
Well, thanks
Glad
for being
to
on the
come
show.
harass Doug.
I appreciate it.
I love coming to harass Doug. He pretends he hates me, but all right. I'll see you guys later.
All right, we appreciate
See ya.
it.
Thank you
very
for
much.
coming.
Yeah. Goodbye.
So starting out, let's go day one. So we get into the gym. Of course, you don't want to max yourself out, right? I know this from going with you guys. going in, you want to test yourself, but you don't want to walk up there and put as much as you think you can lift the first time on there and build it. So as you've shown me multiple times that you want to start with a smaller weight and work your way up to your 1 rep max or whatever, something like that. So you get to that point where you just can't go any further, like you took everything out of you to get the 1 up, right? So if you're going in day 1, you probably should take someone with you that knows what they're talking about to start lifting heavy things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's most people, I guarantee 9 out of 10 people will tell you that they start going to the gym and they start working out because they want to look a certain way. So they, number one, don't go into the gym with the mentality that they want to compete. They don't look at food as a fuel source or, anything like that. So number one, like most people are going to get into fitness by like running.
Yeah.
Like that's what I did.
Not me.
Running, cardio, walking, biking, things like that.
Run for fun. What the hell?
But then you're gonna go over and you're gonna start fooling around with weights because somebody that has maybe been messing around with weights or something like that is gonna tell you this is what you need to do to actually sculpt and build a body. So you'll start doing that and you're like, well, I don't want to get
Teddy Roosevelt.
But there's so many, bro. I could totally stand.
I'm just thinking of that. Have you seen that new Geico commercial? The 2 guys in the gym, and the one guy.
Oh yeah, he just keeps getting more.
He keeps getting big. He's like, yeah, protein shake, potato chip.
I haven't seen that one.
It's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, more than likely, that's gonna kind of you're gonna start lifting weights, and you're gonna start. Noticing the differences in your body and everything like that, and you're gonna be like, well, I kind of really like this. So then it'll kind of shift everything, and then most people get into more bodybuilding. I don't really think that I'm kind of being bold in saying that. Robert and I have talked about that. We both, started doing curls and doing stuff like that to work out, because that's what you see in the gym. That's what most young guys want. So you don't really start thinking about necessarily being stronger. You do it because you want to look a certain way. And the bad thing about that is that if you don't have the right people showing you how to do stuff, you're going to go and you're going to fool around with the deadlift. You're going to fool around with the squat, and you're going to fool around with the bench. And you're going to do things like not squat to parallel or below, which is not only doesn't count in a powerlifting competition, but it's also just bad form. It's bad movement. It's not good for your knees. Benching and not touching your chest. Deadlifting with your back curved over, a lot and using your back a lot. So you'll develop that bad form until you meet that person that you actually, know, and you kind of look up to them and you're like, oh, they're actually pretty strong. So I want to know why they're that strong. And then you get into well, I'm going to, start working out with that guy and learn why, they're doing it this particular way. And then when you start doing that, you have to go way down in weight. You have to reevaluate what you're doing so that you don't hurt yourself. And then, it completely changes the way that you work out.
Right. I would have probably never touched any of that stuff if it wasn't for you guys and getting into it.
It's the basic fundamental. Like most guys don't warm up when they go in the gym.
That's true. That was one thing that I probably would have never sat down and did the stretches that you showed me to do, and I probably would have hurt myself. Probably
most guys. Well, because
big problem.
You don't think about it. You think that, well, if I lift, 100 pounds and then 150 pounds and then 200 pounds and then 250 pounds, you're thinking, well, I'm going to get tired doing that. But it's completely the opposite. The way that your muscular system is set up is that you have to do it in increments so you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You're actually gearing your body up to take on that abuse. Otherwise, because when you're in the gym, you're not building muscle. Even when you're doing a strength lift, you're not building muscle in the gym. You're doing that at home when you eat and repair the muscle. You're breaking muscle down in the gym. You're doing the opposite. So it's the repair cycle, the eating healthy and doing all that that's gonna make you look and feel better.
Right.
But initially, working out is gonna do the opposite. I was in the gym earlier and deadlifted until I died, and I didn't feel just fantastic after I did it. I felt strong, but I was tired. I was weakened by the deadlift. So, anybody else have anything you want to add?
No.
Well, okay. Well, I'll jump in here. Obviously, my health is a major concern for me as of late. I turned 35 this year. I did a really phenomenal year starting off last year. Lost about 37 pounds. Changed a lot of things of what I was eating. I recently, as of 3 years ago, quit smoking. So that was like my first stepping into taking better care of myself. And obviously I do it for my children and for my family. I'm not doing it for myself. And that's probably one of the reasons why I find my lack of success. And then I got about October or so, and then started psyching myself out. Just like the weight wasn't continuing to come off. The school had started again. Back to working 12, 14-hour days, and living on 4 hours of sleep. And it basically just comes down to that balance of where do I put myself. And one of the things that we started the podcast for, was to explore how people find the balance to pursue the things that they have to pursue versus the things that they have to pursue, essentially. And what I mean by that is, we've talked to people like Mikey Mason, who felt driven to pursue this career in comedy, but also had a wife and kids at home, so he had to pursue financial freedom in order to do so. And I'm speaking this because this is obviously a subject that's really near and dear to my heart right now. So we with my family, I have two children, one who is 7 and in second grade, and one that is 4 and going to start kindergarten next year. And then my wife is a social worker who, they make less than $35,000 a year and work crazy, ridiculous, stupid hours as well. It's very difficult for us. We've gone to the Y. We toured the place, and we got free complimentary passes or whatever. And the lady that was giving us the tour was all right. She was different, but that's fine. I didn't hold her accountable for the facility. At all. But it's going to be a sizable financial obligation for us to do this. And then it's important, because if not, we're going to be paying for health care or blood pressure medicine or funeral costs in that time. But then we start looking at how this is actually going to be manageable with the hours in which we're dealing with. And I know I could go before work, but I already have to be at work by 7:15. Which means that I have to transport my son with me as well. And these are all excuses, okay? And I get that. I totally see that these are excuses. Then when I get off work, again, he doesn't go anywhere else. When I get off work, he's now out of school. So I could bring him to the Y or someplace like that. But I'll be honest, that was immediately a no-go. Because if you've explored those childcare options they have at the Y, I'm sure they're fine and safe and you're okay with that. But I like to make sure that my kids have some sort of level of enrichment.
Can't he go on the?
He can't do anything. He can't do anything at his current age.
They have an age
other than be in the. He can be in the
13, I think.
He can be on the basketball courts while I'm at the basketball courts.
Okay.
Okay, which makes sense. But if I'm going to be at the gym to be working out, I'm not going to be on the basketball courts. But okay. And then the youth program was really, honestly, as the Y, I really thought it was going to be more than what it was, and it's a closet. It's a closet with a lot of baby toys in it. He's 7 years old. He doesn't want to play baby toys, so then it's a matter of that's the option that allows my wife and I to do this journey together, because that's what it's going to have to be for us to pay the amount. And I know it's just money. But when you're paying a combined $750 in student loans a month, and we both make under $36,000 a piece because I'm a teacher and she's a social worker, that's going to be a lot. That's food off the table. Which honestly, we could stand to lose a little bit of food off the table. But that means that we're not putting money in savings. We're not taking care of other things and so forth. We're not going to take care of that things financially. So then we look at other options. We have a treadmill at home. So what's it mean to add a couple pieces of equipment to the home gym in order to try to meet some level of health wise, and just looking around, like just a set of weights and so forth. I mean, again, that's a financial obligation I could see that you could definitely make. And then it's in the gym, it's in the house. The kids could see you do it, which is why I love using the treadmill at the house, because the kids see my daughter, she puts on her little headphones. They're not plugged into anything, but she gets this little green stool out that's about this big, but it stands up about this tall. And while I'm sweating and dying on the treadmill, and I know it's not perfect in a perfect world, but while I'm doing that, and I'm listening to I listen to Gone, Gone, Gone by Philip Phillips a lot, because I just imagine myself being like, I'm going to be dead and I'm going to be gone, 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 and I won't be here anymore unless I, change things. And I'm like tears streaming because it's an emotional process for me. I apologize. Because she's holding my finger and she's walking in place on the top of her stool, because she wants to have that. And I want her to see those things. I want to model that for my kids. That's a big reason why I stopped smoking. You want to be that role model for the most important people in your life. And they've always seen their mother do it, but for their mother, it's like a very weird process. That's why I was so interested to hear sort of the female side of this, because for her, it's like, don't look at me. Don't look at me. I'm shedding weight here. Stuff. This is not something to be celebrated. And then my son always wants to get on the treadmill after me. So it's like, put your shoes on and we'll put it on too and have at it, because I want to, again, it's something to do that. So she did the same thing Sarah did. She joined Planet Fitness. Yeah, she got a black card. I don't know. Finally, I fixed it. Finally, I fixed it. Yeah. Finally, I fixed it. The show gets to go my way. So really, what I want to know is that balance. Because right now, you guys have found a balance within your current state and where you're at and how this is working for you. But where does it go from there? How do you incorporate, maybe not powerlifting so much, but just that general fitness or general sort of maintaining of one's body? Because again, it's something very near and dear to me, and I've never been good at it. It's not like I was like an athlete in high school and I was good. I mean, I took better care of myself. I used to lift weights in the garage. We listened to the same, what was that band? Summer Girls of the Summer. Is that what it was? Yeah. So what? That was like the only CD that was up there.
I don't know. It is weird to hear the things that people listen to when they
build that was themselves up. Honestly, I listened to my Cash and Company playlist.
Man, Ellie Goulding, I'm telling you right now.
That's a pretty good one. I can see that pretty good.
I don't know
I'm
how
proud
you guys do
to be an Okie from Muskogee.
I mean, I'll just kind of give my 2 cents.
That's fine. That's what I'm asking.
I'll pass it to Carissa since she doesn't really get to talk that much. But
do you want to talk?
She's pretty quiet, but we're gonna have to beat it out of her. But I mean, to me, like everybody's like, you get done with work at 5, you go to the gym and you're there for 2 hours, and we take it to the extreme. I'm going, but we have the luxury of not having kids right now. So I mean, that's one thing that I cannot relate to you at all, and I don't really think that anybody on this side of the room can.
No.
So I don't know how to give you advice about that balance. All I can do is tell you the positives of going to the gym. So I mean, the positive thing about going to the gym is that, more so than anything else, even though people can be negative, you're gonna have those people. And I don't understand it, I don't know why, but you've always got these people that have an air of superiority about themselves that want to look down on people. But those are just weak people, okay? The best people that you're going to run into at the gym are typically the strongest people, because they have absolutely nothing to prove to anyone else. So the overall gym environment is really why I do it. Even if I had millions of dollars at my disposal to have my own personal gym, I would still want to work out with other people, because there's something about going in and breaking your body down together and everybody kind of just like having this overarching goal, it just creates a very, very positive environment. Like after deadlifting tonight and like getting done and pulling my headphones out and, immediately having a couple guys come and be like, man, that was great. My wife recorded me doing it. It makes you feel awesome to do that. And, to have people's jaw drop when you lift a really, really heavy weight. And then to do the same thing to someone else, like to look at someone that, clean and jerks a ton of weight or something like that, or
no snatch job.
Yeah. Or hits, like some unbelievable deadlift PR or something like that. It's just an unbelievably positive thing that I think that overall that's one reason why if you don't think you can balance it, you should try and find a way to do it. Because it's a positive thing in your life. So I'll pass it to Carissa here, and she can kind of let you know what positive things it's done for her, I suppose, to where it'll help you in that decision that you make, whether you decide you want to go to the Y or not.
Well, while you're passing that, I will say one thing is that a huge difference is that really Paul and Carissa, they've worked to create that environment. I went to the Y before they started going, the one up in Blackford, really before they started going regularly. And I will say that having that group, support group, that nothing like that really existed. I think that's the problem for a lot of people is you go into a gym, and you have the typical stereotypes. You've got one or two guys that go in and they've been doing it for, a while. They do typically they'll do a bench press and then they'll go and they'll take the dumbbells and, because they want to have huge arms, and a big chest or something like that. And they try to intimidate everybody. They give you looks, and then they're just kind of like, who are these people? So it creates kind of a barrier for people that want to get in and kind of join that. So having a group and a kind of a camaraderie that you build with people and you go on that journey with is huge. But unfortunately, I think in most gyms, either it won't happen or it's discouraged. Most of your common gyms, the Y, which I think is most of the time is, a lot of times built for older people, or moms and want to go in and run on the treadmill. Or you go like the Planet Fitness route where they kind of more for a moderate, they kind of shun, people that are going hardcore into that. So it's very difficult for people to find that camaraderie unless they have a group of people that they happen upon and discover or try to build that group. So I think that's where you guys are lucky in that you kind of work to build that kind of support group for one another. And really, it's too bad that there aren't more gyms out there that I think encourage that. And or if they do encourage it, you have to pay big money to get that type of encouragement. So anyway, Carissa, you can talk about whatever you want.
Normally in the microphone, though, that would be the best way to do it. So if you use the microphone to
what was your question, Ryan? What are the benefits?
No, not at all. I was just basically wanted to address sort of the balance issue
the balance
I was talking about.
How do you
and then
balance
what
out
do
your
do
puppies?
Outside of that?
How do you balance your puppies with?
Paul touched on us not having kids, so really it only takes time away from my puppies, which makes me sad, but I still get to see them.
No, but that's a good point, though, too. That's the one thing that drives me nuts is I always hated going out to the Y because they were always so ridiculously crowded. And unless you had people that literally would go and kind of like block out zones for you, like, no, we're doing this area right now, and you're just going to have to, wait your turn. You get those people that are either hog it, or they try to, they try to rule the roost of these certain things, and the equipment is so limited as well. So that's was always one thing that kind of annoyed me. So you'd end up either you go grab dumbbells or have to go and walk, run, whatever on a treadmill and try to hope that something opens up for you, because otherwise you're going to literally trying to find that perfect time to get in there. So anyway.
Yeah, I definitely like the larger gym environment. It seems like smaller gyms can be kind of judgmental because you are so crowded. And it's like, oh, those people are here again. Oh, they deadlift and drop it. Oh, that's annoying. But like the bigger gym atmospheres, almost everyone has their headphones in and literally do not care what anyone else is doing. And it is so much easier to make new friends, I think. Like when me and Paul started going to the Northwest Y, Robert was in there one day and Paul was like, wow, look at that guy, he's really strong, I want to be his friend. And he like immediately went up to him and he was like, hey, like if you ever want to squat, we can work in together, that'd be cool. And Robert's like, yeah, totally. But I feel like that would never happen at smaller gyms because it's always going to be like a big macho man competition, which I personally don't like. I feel like you should be in competition with yourself every single day instead of with other people, because like we were talking about earlier, no one is, exactly the same height, the same weight, same age, so everyone's body is different to where Mo over here can deadlift almost 300 pounds and I can't even do 250 yet, so she's 5 pounds lighter than me, so everyone's completely different.
Yeah, I actually would probably somewhat agree with Doug, because till I started working out here at the Y in Muncie, and I think the gym environment's always going to be a byproduct of the people that are in it. Right. So I think like the three of us here and some of the other people in the gym have a good group, but I think it's all a byproduct of our personalities and oh yeah, sure, go work in, do this. Yeah, I don't mind talking with everyone. But more often than not, you've got people in the gym who, and I always say, like, they're peacocking, right? Like, they're trying to show everyone else around them that they're the best. Or, they're doing everything right, or they're the strongest, or, like, whatever. So, I totally agree that a lot of gym environments, that's the way it is. And it's, like you said, it's really sad because kind of going through that journey with other people makes it that much better. And I think there's can be a huge social aspect to the gym and going to the gym when you have an environment like that. But as far as like time management too, I think, I think the three of us here would probably say we're primarily, focused on powerlifting when it comes to fitness. But I think in terms of your health and what fitness you want to do, you can make whatever your priority, whatever you want it to be. So if you want to be the best, if you want to start running a marathon, that's what you're doing. If you want to, be powerlifting, yeah, you're gonna have to go to the gym. But my sister, I try to get on her forever to try to just be more active. She's by no means was overweight or anything, but she got to the point where it was just you have no muscle to your body at all. Like you don't do anything, and then she had hypotension and all this stuff, and it's like you got to start moving. Yeah. You got to start doing something. So for her, what works is one of these like insanity programs where you can do it in your home. She doesn't have to drive to a gym, and she kind of lives in a smaller town, not a whole lot of options there, and she can do it in her home. And
the mysterious western side of Michigan?
Yeah, in the western side of Michigan, the best state in the union. But, and she can do it for a half hour, 45 minutes, a lot less chunk of her time. She's moving around a lot faster. It's a lot harder, but so it works for her. So I think as far as time management, I think like you were kind of on the right track. I used to do when I was in grad school, I was really, really busy. I didn't have time to go to the gym quite often, so I would start my day there. So I would go really early, and that's tough when we had classes start at 8, and I'd have to go back and shower and get. So I mean, it's not fun to go out and work out in the morning. But if you want to make it a priority, I would go in and I'd get in and out of there within an hour, and that's just what I had to be for that period of time. And that's why I think if I was someone that wanted to get in the gym, I'd love for them to get into powerlifting. But you just want to see someone be healthy, and you got to find something that's manageable.
Right.
It's the same thing with a diet. Everyone wants to talk about all these different diets, right? Well, maybe you should just try to eat less food and not try to restrict your diet and throw foods out of it, because that's probably not manageable.
Right.
At some point, you're going to want to go to a party where they have food that may not fit into your diet. But if you just eat less of it,
especially if you live around here,
right?
You mean 4 handfuls of almonds from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. are not a good idea? That's where I'm at right now.
One other thing that's really, really important that I forgot about, but just when it comes to balance, something that's unavoidable that you have to do is you have to eat. You know, like when you're working out, or even if you're not working out, obviously you have to eat food. So one thing that I do, because I, try to diet as best as or not diet, but have the best diet as I can, is I meal prep. So that's a big game changer right there, because, instead of, getting home late at night and then having to cook a whole meal, you've already got meals readily available. And it just saves so much time. And if you guys ever want to do, I'm not a nutrition expert. I'm not. I really don't know or care about a lot of those things. I don't take it to the absolute max, but I do, make sure that I have plenty of healthy food to eat throughout the course of the week, and that I, eat X amount of calories so that I either lose, gain, or maintain the muscle that I have. So, if you guys ever want to do a show on meal prep or something like that, I can totally tell you some really, really easy recipes, because I've got it down to where I can cook for the whole week in about an hour and a half or 2 hours on the weekend. And it doesn't take a ton of my time. Mm-hmm. But it's good food. I'm not one of those people that just eat straight chicken and rice, for 3 meals a day.
Handfuls of almonds, I'm telling you.
We eat very, very well in my household, and that's the thing that you also, if you're doing it right, you should still be eating a decent amount of food, and you should be able to get relatively full when you eat. So, that's a huge balance thing right there, is just not having to cook 5 nights a week while you go to the gym, or however many nights a week you go to the gym.
That would be nice to be able to do that. That is a kicker. I do it for my lunches at work when I'm as you guys know, I'm doing The Biggest Loser at work again, and I'm completely destroying everyone else in that I'm winning by a ton, which kind of stinks. I wish I wasn't, because of the fact of not having a competition makes it a lot easier to step away from what you're doing, But I've been doing that with my lunch, where I've been making salads prior to work, and then just prepping them real quick before I go to work. So I've been buying just heads of lettuce. Actually, the Dole recall actually made it better for me, because with that recall, now I'm buying I'm buying a head of lettuce, and I'm buying a thing of romaine lettuce, and then buying some carrots, chopping those up, making one big, huge thing. I'm throwing away salad, and it's cheaper at the end of the week, because I know I want fresh for the rest of the week, and I've still got a quarter of it, and I'm I got to throw this away, because I have one big container, and I have no other way to keep it.
If you like tuna too, I think it was either Starkist or, I think it was Starkist. Evidently there was some class action that got settled with them, and if you go, and it's if you bought a can of tuna between this year and this year, you actually get $50 worth of free tuna. So
wow.
That's a lot of cans of tuna.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I would ever put
Robert
tuna on my salad.
He is the biggest bargain shopper I think that I've ever met in a human. He drives a 2001 Buick Presidential that he's very, very adverse to getting rid of. So anytime
there's nothing wrong.
Car
with
payments are
frugal.
expensive.
That was one problem while I was fat, I think, too, is because I was so frugal. Is that it comes down to the most the most food for the least amount of money. And the other thing is, like, when you have kids, like when Jules reached the age where we actually had to start buying her food when we went out to eat, like when we go out to eat, she'd have to buy her the kids meal, but kids meals are always way bigger than what the kids should be eating or will eat. So it comes down to, like, I finish my meal and I'm sitting there and she's ate 2 of her 6 chicken nuggets. I'm like, oh, there's 4 nuggets there. I mean, I'm going to eat those with my Big Mac and my fries. And, I'm going to take those down too. So that's going to happen because I don't want them to go to waste. I mean, I paid for those. So it comes down to that idea where I'm like, I don't want to throw that away because I paid for it. And I feel like I'm wasting money if I do that.
Okay, here's when you walk into very dangerous territory then. You start ordering with that in mind is where I was at for a long time. I'd be like, I'm going to need a meal that's going to feed me and fill me up. Not correctly, Paul. I mean that. But like to the obese state in which I am, I'm going to need a meal to fill me up. I'd be like, but wait a minute. She's ordering a grilled cheese sandwich, which she will only eat half of, and he's eating the chicken tenders, which comes with, I think, 4. Yeah, he'll eat 2. So I don't need to order this extra portion. I don't need to order this extra thing. I'll just wait and bide my time. In like a scrap machine, like a junkyard that is my trash, that is my gullet. I'll just clear their plates. Which is, you ride that high, seriously, like 6-7 months?
Yeah.
And then they start clearing their plates.
Yeah.
And it catches you unaware. And you're like, wait. I didn't get there. There's nothing left for me to scrape into my gullet.
It's a good thing, though. Like,
it is.
I'm getting yelled at now. Jules yells at me as I'll be eating my meal and I'll get done and she'll be sitting there talking. I'm like, yeah, okay, and I'll reach over and I'll take something off her plate. Stop it! I'm gonna eat that. Like, leave it alone.
Not fast enough, you went.
Yeah,
not fast enough.
But with the meal prep idea, yeah, I've been prepping my salads as you just asked me about today because I didn't have salad for lunch today at work. So you have to, that's the one thing I found with meal prepping, like, you can't be a person that you can change it up a little bit, but there's still kind of a set kind of regimen on what you're making to do.
And powerlifting specific, you have to make sure that you're consuming calories.
Right.
Like, it's so important, and you got to keep the muscle level high. So you got to make sure that you're getting the protein, you're getting the right amount of carbs and everything. So, I mean, it's just vastly important that powerlifting just specifically changes the way that you think about food, too.
Well, since last year, I cannot tell you how many dozens of boiled eggs have been consumed at breakfast at my house. Because that has become the breakfast meal of choice for both the adults in our house. Just a boiled egg.
I'm still... And Sarah, my wife, she's not one to eat the same thing over and over again. But I can, obviously, from my chicken salads, my honey mustard chicken salads that I make every single day at work, I can eat the same thing every day. And for breakfast, basically since our Biggest Loser, I've had a slice of Ezekiel bread, the cinnamon raisin Ezekiel bread with a ton of peanut butter on it almost every morning. But I'll tell you what, that one slice and that peanut butter, I'm good until lunch. Like, it is so filling, it's ridiculous. Now I'll have like 3 cups of coffee too, but with that just one thing, I mean, it's
seriously one boiled egg, a handful of almonds, and then a handful of almonds, then a handful of almonds.
See, you're starving yourself though.
I'm constantly eating almonds.
If you're doing that, that's all you're eating.
You should be pooping, right?
That's all you're eating until dinner. Then you're starving yourself, and no wonder you're not losing any weight.
I just said I lost like 8 pounds this last week. I'm fine.
I don't know, but back to the powerlifting thing. Let's get back on the line where we need to be heading here. So you've got the 3 main things that you want to hit on that. So when you go to the competitions, can you do just one? Can you go and say, I only want to deadlift, I don't want to touch the other 2?
You can, and I have. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
I'm not good at bench. I've got some elbow issues that I'm trying to get through, but it's not an excuse, and I don't use it as an excuse, but I should be much stronger than what I am when it comes to bench. So, I mean, I don't like to showcase my bench, but you can do it. It's not necessarily advisable or what a lot of people would say is cool or anything like that, but You know, I mean, when you go, it's a lot more notable to go and compete in all three.
Okay. Because when I went with you guys and I did the 3 different, maxed out on all 3, the most fun I had out of all of them was deadlifting. And I don't know why, but that was the one thing. Maybe because I did more than what I was expecting that I was going to do in that. Like when I made it to 300 pounds, I was like, I could do more. Like if we would have started with this and not like completely destroyed myself trying to squat the bar. I mean, like if I could have just, started with this, I feel like I could have done even more on that. And I don't know why, but that was like the niche thing. And I was like, oh man, this is fun. Like squatting is stupid. That's as dumb as running a mile. Like I hate it. Like I never want to touch that again. But picking things directly off the ground for some reason, bringing them up instead of bringing them down is much funner for some reason to me. So
I think it's like carnal, right? You're just like, I just lifted this
to be able to just lift it directly off the ground and like just because I think it was I really do. I think it was the idea that I didn't think I was ever going to be able to just that first time going in there get to that weight. Like I thought I was like, oh man, I'm going to put 2 plates on here and just bring this up and like be shaking as I'm bringing it up, like not being able to do it. But then
honestly, though, you've been training for that your whole life. Every time you bring in the groceries from the car and you go for one more bag.
That's true. I can normally
do it in one trip.
You can't do it in one trip. You shouldn't have bought it.
I can do one trip on bags. I can do the one trip bags. Now I got to go back and get the paper towels and stuff like that.
Your fingers, by the time you get in the house, are like purple. And
Yeah.
I don't know how you handle stairs, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That would throw my game off.
I do it, man. And then when we get our water softener going again, we were just talking about that, taking the salt down into the basement.
You have a coal chute, though, dude. I just throw it on the coal chute.
That's funny you brought that up. Yeah, it's all sealed up. I had to seal it up because it was freezing my pipes. But
is that a euphemism for something?
Freezing my pipes.
Yeah.
No, my main water line runs right in front of it, and I had to seal it off.
Is that a euphemism for something?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I call it, my main water line.
But getting into those 3 things, I mean, of course, you're going to want to work on different muscle groups at different times. So when you go in and you're going to do, so you're going to go in and do this lift competition with all 3 of those things. You guys, more than most people, are going to be there almost on a daily basis. So you're going to be working out different muscle groups each day, right? Yeah. To let the other ones heal, right? So is there a specific routine that you fall into? So you're going to prepare for a lift competition. You're going to do all 3 lifts. You're going to do all 3 categories. So you're probably going to concentrate on the area that you think you need to work on the most, or are you going to concentrate on the one that you can do better?
Yeah, it's tough because
that's
it's really
gamesmanship right there, brother.
It's kind of like what are it depends on where you're at and what your goals are for that time, because you're right, you really can't, people talk about it, you can't focus on all 3 lifts in one training session.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to focus a little bit more on one, and the other 2 are gonna sacrifice a little
bit.
So that's really kind of up to you. I think generally people focus on, I mean, you kind of have 2 trains of thought, right? Some people like to really focus on what they're good at. If I don't think I can be competitive for my overall total, adding the 3 weights or 3 lifts together, I might just focus on what I'm really good at and put up a really impressive number for that one lift.
Right.
But if I think that I can put up a more competitive total, adding up all those 3 lifts, I'll probably work on what my weakest thing is, or what I can gain the most on. Okay. Right. If I actually want to add the most weight to my total, I should probably spend the most time and focus on what I think I can improve the most. But it's all about, is this competition are you really competing to win? Are you competing to get better? So maybe I'm not just trying to solely focus on one. I know I could maybe gain 20 pounds in this lift, but if I focus a little bit more on all 3, I could gain 5 pounds in each one.
Yeah.
And so it's a little individual specific, but I'd say for the most part, people want to bring up what their lagging lift would be.
Okay.
Because if you're thinking about competing against other people, then you're losing the most from your total on that lift.
So I do understand one thing about the competitions is that when you go into it, you get 3 lifts on each category. So you do 3. You do 3 of each. So when you do that, you go in. Do you have to? The one thing I've never asked, I guess, is when you go in, do you have to state what 3 weight amounts you're going to do, or do you have to just state what a max that you're trying to get to or anything like that?
So what you'll do is you have to give them your first weight. So you'll because generally what they'll try to do is, especially if they get bigger, they're gonna try to do you in they're gonna try to set you up in heats so that people doing similar weight are going next to each other, so they don't have to
make it faster.
To make it go quicker. So you usually will specify what your openers are going to be the week of or the night before. So it doesn't have to be
like when you register, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Could be the morning you show up. You just tell them your opening numbers. After that, after every successful or unsuccessful lift, they will ask you, what do you want to do on your next attempt? If you failed, you can only ever do the same weight. You can never go down.
Okay.
So if you fail, you tell them, hopefully, the same weight.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell them a higher number.
Right.
If you successfully complete the lift, you'll tell them whatever the next weight you want to do is. And that's kind of up to you. Usually, what I would tell people when I tell them about going into their first powerlifting meet or something like that, you want to have a plan before you go in to what you think those numbers are going to be. If it feels exceptionally well and light that day on that first opener, maybe you go up a little bit higher on that second lift than you thought you were going to.
Yeah.
But you're staying kind of in that range that you already had set out.
Can you go? So you set your first one. So we set our first weight at 200, and we make that fine. So we tell them 215 on the second one, and we don't get that. Are you allowed to go back down? You can't go below your first weight?
No, you'd have to try that 215 again at the minimum.
Oh, okay.
Or you can only stay at that weight or go up. Yeah,
okay.
You couldn't drop it down in that range.
I thought maybe just your base weight, whatever you started with, that's the lowest you can go.
No. It's whatever if you've failed at something, you can never go below that weight again. Or if you successfully made it, you can't go below it again.
Okay. Have either three of you went to register and said a weight to a person? Like, they're like, what's your opening weight? And you tell them, and they're like, no, really. No, really, you're not going to do that. What's your opening weight? Has that ever happened?
Oh yeah, when I registered to do one, I told them that my opening lift on a deadlift was going to be 430, and I weighed in at 148, and they were like, no, like, what weight are you really planning on doing? I was like, no, my opener is going to be 430. And that was it. But I mean, it wasn't their fault. I mean, there were a lot of big guys there. So,
was the register's person in front of you when you lifted it, and did you stare them deeply into their eyes when you picked it up?
No,
I would have.
But that's what I would have. I was mad about that competition because, it kind of shows you the politics of certain powerlifting organizations. I'm not going to talk bad about that organization, but I won't ever compete through them again. But I'm not one of those people that necessarily thinks that I should have just gotten best lift, but out of all of the people that were there, based on body weight, I lifted 3 times my body weight and, just got first in my weight class. But then they gave the overall best lift for that competition to a person that had just barely lifted over 2 times their body weight, but they had the highest number. Like, they weighed in at, I think they weighed in at 275, so they would have been like a super heavyweight, and they deadlifted like 550 or 560 or something like that. But I weighed at 148 and I lifted 455. So
what's the okay? So we'll just keep using deadlift as the standard for this across. So you go in and you give them that weight. How do they determine who wins? Because if you're telling me that you lifted more per your body weight than that guy did, but he lifted more, there's got to be a set rule on that, right? Like, you weigh this, so it's just judged.
It depends on the organization.
Yeah. So I mean, for each weight class, generally the winner will be who lifted the most weight in that weight class.
Okay.
But what they do to compare across them, what they're supposed to do, is there's like a
flip a coin, right?
Yeah,
oh wait, no, that was last thing.
But they're supposed to create a thing called like a Wilks score, where it's basically a ratio of your weight to the weight you lifted, and then there's a multiplier for each weight class that you're in, just to take into account that you're 150 pounds and this person's 180, but you both have like 100 pounds of bones and just general structural, the muscle and fat differences between you doesn't make up, we're all, no matter how thin you are, we're all at the base,
right?
A certain weight. So once they do that, then they have this thing. It's usually called a Wilks score, and it's comparable across the different weight classes. But some of the newer, less reputable organizations don't always have set rules for how they compare across the classes. Within the class, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you wade into this class because you want to be competing with people to get the highest weight that were the same weight in the same weight class as you.
Right.
But as far as across the weight classes, that's where you're supposed to use this Wilks score thing, but not all of the newer ones, I think, do. So,
do they? I'm assuming they post these rules how they're going to do it before the competition.
And most of them have websites where you can go through and read all the rules and everything like
that. What would be the I guess the association that would be considered the standard rule giver to these?
Yeah, so
is there something like that?
Yeah, the one that's probably the best respected, and it's kind of worldwide, is USAPL. So I don't remember what it stands for, but it's USAPL, and then worldwide it's called the IPF.
Would be.
And so that one's drug tested. So that's kind of the people that aren't on. Well, they're not supposed to be taking any performance-enhancing drugs, although if you cycled off at the right times, you can pass drug tests without, But then the other big one is just USPA, which does no drug testing. And that's where you see the insane weights where people are squatting and deadlifting 1,000 pounds. But they're also just behemoths. They don't look human.
So when I'm looking at these records that are held, those are going to be records based in that area. So
so like Eddie Hall and those guys, they were not drug tested at all.
So you have like the raw dead. This is from Wikipedia, so these could be wrong now. But the record for raw deadlift, a deadlift performed without the aid of a deadlift suit, where only the weight belt is allowed. The records, we'll do it in pounds, 1,015 pounds by Benedict Magnuson.
Yep.
The lift, this lift currently exceeds the equipped record.
Yeah, so equipped lifting is a whole different beast in of itself. It's kind of outdated.
It says a equipped deadlift is a deadlift performed using a deadlift suit using a standard bar and plates where straps are disallowed. So you can't, because the straps is where you get up to a weight where your hands can't even really.
Yeah, your grip strength is no longer able to keep up with basically your body strength. You can't hold on to the bar. You can't lift the bar off the ground because you can't hold it with your hands.
Because your fingers can't grab onto it. Like, okay. And Andy Bolton holds the record for that for 1,009 pounds.
Which is insane.
And then the world record deadlift in the strongman competitions using a standard bar and plates, but straps and hitching is allowed, is 1,021 pounds.
Yeah,
and that's Eddie Hall that holds that record. Yeah. So, are we at the high? That's highest so far.
The highest for sure.
There should be
there's one
honestly,
higher.
like if I wrote a book and somebody really, really helped me write that book, I'd have to give that guy some acknowledgement, wouldn't I? There should be Eddie Hall featuring pharmacist such and such and such.
The world record in strongman competition partial deadlift with wrist straps and I guess lifting at 18 inches off the floor.
Yeah.
With high bending bar is 1,180 pounds, and that's Tom McGee in 1983.
Are these people all from Wisconsin?
This guy did it in 1983 and hasn't been beaten, I guess.
People have stopped going for it at this point.
I think people probably they don't. That's
because that's only just lifting it off of.
That's like a foot and a half off the ground already.
With a high bending bar, so it's,
you're moving it maybe a couple inches probably at that point, so it's not as.
And then the record for the tire deadlift, a deadlift performed using Hummer tires instead of weight plates, is 1,155 pounds by.
Sounds like a Vegas act.
Zerndis.
Yes.
Zerndis Zavickas, is that his name? Okay. Yeah, so I kind of want to see that. So if people aren't aware, and I think most of our listeners probably watch Game of Thrones since we've talked about it before,
right.
But the Mountain from Game of Thrones is a power lifter. Like that's how that guy is.
He's a strongman as well. And I think he just deadlifted an insane amount of weight, but it wasn't a world record, but he's up there.
He was the one that lifted
980. Yeah,
he did the Viking thing. And what?
Yeah, I forget what that is. It's a weird thing
name?
where they like lift
it's like a
log
tree.
up.
It's like he's lifting
Magnuson
a tree.
What's his name?
The mountain is what's his name?
Bjornsson, yeah.
Halfthorn, right?
Bear's son.
Hey, we're talking to one of Iceland's boys.
Yeah.
There's actually a very good. Do you ever watch any of the Vice documentaries like on YouTube?
Yeah.
There's a very good one about
one.
Icelandic
Yeah, that's
lifters.
a good one.
It's pretty.
Not as good as the Siberian Jesus, but close.
I don't know if I've seen Siberian Jesus.
I've never seen the Vice one about Iceland. Is it about all the deaths?
It's about how all these incredibly strong men have come from Iceland now. It way exceeds their population ratio, out of the world.
Yeah.
But it does talk about how a lot of them do die young.
Well, I read a whole thing about Iceland where because of the volcanic fields are so close to the underneath the surface, that people will just go for a walk and never come back because they'll fall into one of these open pits and just burn up, and they'll never find their body. They'll never have any idea where they are.
That's crazy.
But the murder rate in Iceland is incredibly low, but the missing person rate in Iceland is incredibly high.
The gnomes and trolls and all of that, they come get you.
Yeah.
I guess he broke the record at the Arnold Classic on something. Let me see. He's a Norse Titan.
Yeah, actually, one thing Paul was talking about earlier, I think one of the reasons why you see these powerlifters and strongmen now who are also not just very gigantic and very round is because there's huge financial opportunities. Look at the mountain. Yeah. He's starting to get into movies, and he's able to kind of make money off of not just this sport of lifting. So keeping a more aesthetic look, he'll be able to get those roles.
Better physique. He shows off more in a movie.
Who looks better, the Mountain or Andre the Giant, who is just this blob of a massive man.
He was good in Princess Bride.
He was pretty good. Yeah, he was. He was great. I love his acting. But
so it says after breaking a 1,000-year-old record during the world's strongest Viking competition back in February by carrying a 30-foot, 1,433-pound log, I will admit he only took 6 steps, but still.
Really? I mean, you're gonna put him down?
Yeah, 1,400 pounds on his back.
That's it.
He added another notch to his belt with a world record throw at the 2015 Arnold Sports Festival. The 6'9", 419-pound Icelandic weightlifter posted videos of the feat on Instagram. With one arm, he managed to toss a 56-pound kettlebell 19 feet and 3 inches into the air. So that is...
I'm convinced that Goliath was probably from Iceland. He has to have been one of... I mean, right, they speak of these people
he just walked. He's walked over there.
I'm just gonna walk over there.
Hey, I'm gonna build some cardio this week. Where are you going? I'm gonna run over to Jerusalem.
Take me a couple steps. I'm just
That's insane.
Yeah, some of those.
Maybe that's where the Nephilim went, Doug. And now we're looking at a watered down version of Nephilim.
I think I could throw 56 pounds with one arm, and probably not past my head.
Yeah, that would.
I don't think I could get it.
Okay,
off the ground.
I will say
maybe with momentum, and it
Julie
went, instead
is
of going straight
pounds. Isn't she?
No.
I mean, she's got to be close to 56 pounds.
No.
Well, how much does she weigh?
It's not 56 pounds.
I went and loaded dog food one time growing up at this farmer's house that sold dog food out of one of his barns. And some of these old farmers, old timers that have just done nothing but work their entire life. There was one of those guys. He was probably 45, 50 years old, and he would grab the 40-pound bags of dog food and literally grab them off the truck and throw them up into the hay mow for guys to stack them. So, that's
farmer strength.
So, that comes from a lifetime of moving hay bales and stuff like that. So
I think that's one reason why I like watching the strongman competitions, because it's one thing with the powerlifting that you see the weights and you see that stuff, but when they do the things where they're lifting up a back end of a car over and over again, or they're doing the thing where they're kind of deadlifting the bucket thing where they pick it up and then they put it down and then another barrel falls into it, and they pick it up and put it down and another barrel falls into it, stuff like that. It's just got this kind of
brute strength.
There's almost an agility that they have to have with that too. That you don't. I don't think you see in a powerlifting. You're focusing on three things.
It's easy.
There's so much more to it that they have to do to be able to do all this.
Have you done
things.
a strongman competition?
No, I've never even dabbled.
Do they do that in the U.S.?
Yeah, actually, there's a girl who works out at the gym with us who's actually doing a competition tomorrow in Indy. Okay. So they do them every once in a while. It's just a whole different ball game. I mean, with powerlifting, I can do it because it's simple. Move it from point A to point B in a straight line.
What about hernias?
Yeah,
I think I got one.
That's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah,
is getting a hernia while lifting.
One of the biggest fears is your anus falling out while you're
dropping out of my body.
I might have two now that I'm feeling around down here.
I mean,
anuses.
It's kind of interesting to see the guys do the tires. I mean, that's kind of a cool.
I think all the strongman stuff's really interesting. They're just kind of freaks.
What's going to happen?
It just makes me think of like ESPN at like 4 a.m.
That's what it was. Yeah.
What's going to happen when they start, crossing? We start getting bionics in us. Then it's going to be a whole different ball game.
Well, I mean, we didn't even talk about how, like, in a lot of countries, the weightlifting, we had both genders here, but how transgender, like, transferring a male to a female to compete in the Olympics is actually something that happens.
Yeah, it's happening in, like, MMA with the cyborg.
And how they're going to combat that or deal with that, or...
It's going to be weird.
At some level, it's when females start taking testosterone and androgens to become stronger, their body starts to change into a man's. I mean, like, in the sense that the chemistry within their body starts to change, so... Same
way that Bruce Jenner grew boobs in the 80s.
Yeah. There you go.
And there was no pill. I mean, it was just pills and shots. Pills and shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to leave on that note. I'll be honest.
Bruce Jenner's boobs in the 80s. Okay.
What is there a specific one of those Vice documentaries that you were talking about? What was that?
Iceland. The Strongmen of Iceland.
Strongmen of Iceland. That's just really fascinating.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everything on Vice is on YouTube now.
Yeah.
It started on YouTube, but then it went to HBO.
Yeah. I've watched a bunch of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's not even get on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brendan Dassey's
the Giants of Iceland.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's called that. Yeah, that looks interesting. It's only 20 minutes long.
Those feel like more like a 30 by 30 than they do like a Vice video.
Yeah.
I like those 30 by 30s.
I do too.
I've watched a bunch of those, and I don't even follow most of those.
I think there might be a 30 for 30 on the old strongman competitions as well.
Is there?
Like John Paul, or maybe there is, maybe not. Yeah.
John Paul. I mean, that's 3 a.m. on ESPN. Is what that is.
3 a.m. on ESPN.
The Pope. John Paul?
No, not that John Paul. Okay. One who is holier than thou.
Yeah.
Do what? What'd you say?
Well, yes.
Fill us in.
Yes. What is your goal?
What is your goal? I guess I should ask that because we've talked about that, so I know your goal. I know that your goal is to beat 500 pounds on the deadlift.
Yeah.
And you're at, what's your max right now?
I don't know. Yet to be determined.
Well, you know what the highest amount that you've done so far,
What's
right?
your PR then?
The most that I've ever put on the bar and lifted was 485.
See, yeah, you'll hit
close.
500.
But
you'll get 500.
But I'm training back up to it. I didn't lose that strength, but I needed to do something different, like with the idea of cycling and everything. So I did a lot of different accessory lifts and things like that.
I mean, what's 15 pounds? I mean, come on.
But training's going well. I mean, did 465 for a set of 2 tonight, which didn't go up the greatest, but I'm kind of putting myself at a disadvantage on some aspects of it. So I feel optimistic that it'll be at least 500 when I go out there. I'm hoping more for around 520 by the time this competition rolls around, and then I squat. It's a whole different animal for me too. I mean, for my size, it's not bad. It should be a lot bigger, but I've combated injuries and this and that and the other. So honestly, anything over 350. But by the end of the year, I think 405 will be in the cards, and I very, very excited about that. I don't know where my wife just ran off to, but
probably the lay down.
And then
It's probably on my couch.
bench, I just at this point I'm hoping to be broy enough to hit 225 at this competition, and then get over this elbow crap, and then just keep building up from there.
What?
So
225 on bench.
that's,
I have no upper body strength, like whatsoever.
Well, Robert was just screwing around in the gym tonight, like a recovery bench, and he did like 5 sets of 3 with 245. Right? Yeah. So it was like
that would go through my chest. Like,
yeah,
I would get that off the bar and it would just like go through me. Like I would come down so hard that I'd have this weird indentation in my chest for the rest of my life. I'd break ribs. No question.
So I mean, he's
thanks for the spot, man.
He's benching 300, 315, whatever he's going to throw up in competition. My friend Mitch, he just hit 315. So I mean, it's just like these guys are benching, as much as I can squat.
I deadlift?
yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. But and then Carissa's goals. I mean, she's really probably the most even keel all around. She out of all of us, I'd say she's the most athletic. I mean, her and Mo are very, very athletic. But I mean, can go a really long way with Olympic weightlifting, but I mean, I have no doubt that she'll deadlift somewhere between 275 and 300 at this next competition. She'll probably squat over somewhere between 225 and 250, and I mean, she's just a tank on bench. She'll bench somewhere between 135 and maybe even 150. So I mean,
which is insane.
She's impressive. I mean, she's just it blows my mind watching her work out. I mean, her form is just absolutely impeccable. So I mean, she's this is just the beginning. I mean, it'll be crazy to see how much stronger she's gonna get. And then Mo is right there with her. Mo's got a great deadlift. She'll be right around 315 at this next competition. She'll squat about the same as Carissa, and then she struggles with bench like me, but she'll probably do 115, 120 at this competition. So,
but I mean, actually, we probably didn't really talk about differences in genders though. Those bench numbers are insane for a female to do their body weight. Like that's the one lift where for sure the ratios are going to be much higher for guys, right? They just have wider shoulders. They're just built better to actually bench press.
Yeah.
So a female doing their own body weight or more is pretty not very common at all, even for people who do it, as a high, pretty seriously. So
wow.
But,
I'm pretty excited. As I said earlier, that my wife was doing some stuff herself, and then she met with the same guy, and she got put on and it's been sit for a year now. I've been telling her because she's on the treadmill at home, and I'm like, well, if you're going to go to the gym, then why are you on the treadmill? I mean, you're going to go
right.
You need to create muscle to build that metabolism and to go. That way you're burning calories a lot longer than after you get off the treadmill. So I'm a fat guy who obviously apparently in her mind had no idea what I was talking about. So she goes and meets with this third party, this independent guy who
told her the same thing.
Told her exactly the same thing. Actually has her on a weightlifting schedule, and she's been lifting. I think she's going into like her second week now. So not much, but she. It's kicking her butt, and it's kicking her butt in a way that being on the treadmill for 2 hours hasn't done. So it's been really exciting, and I'm excited to be, because she got the whole membership where I can go whenever I want. The problem is that balance of where are our kids when we're not there. So I've gone a few times with her, and then we got to the thing on like Sunday where we go to church and we drop our kids off at my mom and dad's. And then the two of us can then go together. Then we go back to my mom and dad's and eat dinner and. It's just been nice. It's been interesting. It's been fun to sort of have those opportunities to go with her. But it is interesting. I haven't gone since she's met with the trainer. I haven't gone since she's actually been on some of the machines. But she's in the stretching areas and she's using the bands and the medicine. She's standing on medicine balls and curling stuff and to strengthen her core while she's building arm strength. And that's one thing I talked to her about was just when you're old, like I do push-ups when I do my yoga. Yeah, I do push-ups. That's all I do.
Shower yoga.
I don't do it in the shower anymore. I do it on the sun porch. But I do like it. It's fun. It's fun to stretch. But you know, when the current path that she's on right now, she's got tons of tone within her legs just because that's what she works out when she's on the treadmill. But like she's already getting in just 2 weeks, like there's almost a line there at the bottom of her arm that's never been there before. And for a lady, I can imagine that is a very difficult sort of. Those arms are typically spaghetti. I mean,
I'm imagining our wives turning into like on Futurama when Leela and
oh no,
and what's her name? They get into that competition where they're like the flying butterflies and they start taking like roids and like
the Asian
start beating up on
Asian
everyone.
girl on the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is her name?
She's actually Martian. I mean, I don't want to say anything, but she grew up in a cattle farm on Mars.
What is her name?
I can't remember now.
Start with a J? No.
We'll let you talk it out. Well, you guys talk it out. Just keep going. You'll figure it out.
I can't think of what it is. It's okay. Because there's Leela, Fried, Zoidberg, Amy. Amy Wong.
Amy.
That's what it was.
It's Amy. It's definitely not Zoidberg.
That's a pretty good impression.
Or they'll turn into the Amazonians and we'll die.
Snoo.
We'll die by death by snoo snoo.
Nah, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Anyways, so all right. Did you guys have any other questions?
No, I thank you guys so much again for being on. Yeah. I really enjoy it, and
thanks for having us.
I always learn a lot and put things in perspective for myself. And
this is BOBcast.
You know, hopefully, we won't have to wait a whole another year to have this conversation again. You know what I mean? But,
yeah, because they'll have their own gym soon.
That's what I'm waiting for. One where I can comfortably put my child in a corner with a coloring book and not for fear of what will happen to it. Thank you guys for joining us tonight at the Buffalo Brotherhood. This has been BOBcast episode 87. I'm Ryan. I've been joined by Robert, Paul, and Mike.
87?
97.
Why does he keep doing that?
I don't know why. Cause I can't believe we're 3 episodes away from 100.
Yeah, we're 2 recordings away from 100.
Yeah.
We'll have to have our 100th episode extravaganza. That's a good idea.
If you guys have any ideas,
probably figure out what we're going to do for 98.
If you guys have any ideas for 100, let us know. Let us know on Facebook,
or don't,
or don't. Just let us figure it out on our own. But I think we should get some crowd ideas on that. That'd be kind of cool to crowdsource the 100.
Yeah,
100 episodes. Holy crap!
You can ask Jaden.
Yeah. I'll just ask Jaden Smith.
Yeah.
What should we do for our 100th episode, Jaden?
Yeah.
Your ears have been listening to me for 100 episodes, but you still haven't heard me.
What are we gonna do if he respond back? I might just do that.
Please do. It'd be great. Jaden, if you want to respond to us, you can do so at BOBcast Nation or Facebook.com/Buffalo Brotherhood. Am I good? Do you want me to give the rest of them?
No, we're fine.
Doug's at Refried Evil.
Yeah, whatever.
Thanks, guys, for coming on. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thank your wife, too, even though she's sleeping.
Yeah, no problem. She's just cold, I think.
I can understand that.
One more time.
Round the bend.
We're waiting on the song to play again, so
they don't have their headphones on, so they don't know where we are.
They're not hearing what's going on.
That's okay. That's all right. We're not playing any Steve Winwood, though, so this episode could all go on YouTube.
You had to say that, so.
We did do the SNL thing at the beginning, but I think we'll be fine.
That came from there.
All right. See you guys. Bye.
So if you play something from YouTube, it's okay?
No. No, it's not okay at all.
I was going to say.